The 2025 Bihar election. You know, this is way more than just a state affair. This is a battle that's really going to shape India's national political landscape. So today, we're going to break down exactly what's at stake.
Every big political fight has a number at its core. And for Bihar in 2025, that number is 243. That's the total number of seats up for grabs in the state assembly, and it's the prize that has the entire nation watching.
And that leads us to the huge question we're tackling today. Who is actually going to win this race for Bihar's future? The answer is a really big deal for millions of people.
So, what makes this particular election so special? Well, it really starts with the voters themselves. The level of public engagement, honestly, you can only call it historic.
Just look at this number. Voter turnout shot up to almost 67%. That's the highest it's been since 1951. It's a massive signal that the people of Bihar were seriously motivated to make their voices heard. And when you dig into the data, the story gets even better.
The most incredible statistic of all? Well, that would be the turnout among women voters, which hit an unbelievable 71.6%. This wasn't just a high number. It basically announced the arrival of women as a decisive political force in Bihar.
So, with 243 seats in play, the finish line is crystal clear, 122. That is the magic number you need to form a government, and it's the one single target every political alliance was desperately trying to hit.
And the election itself? It was a total whirlwind. It all went down over two really intense phases of voting on November 6th and 11th. After that, all eyes were glued to November 14th, the day the official results would finally put all the speculation to rest.
All right, so who were the main contenders in this high-stakes race for those 122 seats? Well, the contest was pretty much a head-to-head battle between two massive alliances. On one side, you had the ruling National Democratic Alliance, the NDA, which is led by the BJP and the JDU. And their main challenger was the Mahagathbandhan, or Grand Alliance, which is a coalition of the RJD, Congress, and left parties. These two giants, they define the whole political battlefield.
But, it wasn't strictly a two-horse race. You had new players like the Jan Swaraj Party jumping into the ring, really trying to shake up the old political order and carve out their own space.
So what were the issues that were powerful enough to get millions of people to the polls? Let's take a look at the concerns that were dominating everything, from campaign rallies to kitchen table talks all across Bihar.
The whole debate really came down to four major themes. First, jobs. Are there going to be enough opportunities to keep young people from leaving? Second, social justice. How would the complex past dynamics play out? Third, development. Who could actually deliver on promises for better roads, power, and schools? And finally, there was a controversy that cast a bit of a shadow over the whole thing, the integrity of the voter lists.
So, that brings us to this electoral roll controversy. Right before the Election Commission did this thing called a special intensive revision. Well, opposition parties immediately sounded the alarm. They alleged that this whole process led to mistakes and maybe even manipulation that could take voters off the list, and it became a huge point of contention.
The second the voting was over, the focus just snapped right over to the exit polls to get the first clues. So, what did these early predictions suggest was going to happen?
Well, most of the exit polls seemed to be pointing towards an edge for the NDA alliance. They were projecting a win of anywhere from 121 to 160 seats. And while the Mahagathbandhan was expected to put up a really strong fight, the early numbers suggested they might just fall short of that majority mark.
So, what was the thinking behind the NDA's projected lead? Well, a lot of analysts pointed right back to that record-breaking turnout among women as a possible game changer. The theory was that a mix of regional dynamics and really strong support from women was tipping the scales in the NDA's favor.
But of course, it's so important to remember that exit polls are just that, predictions. They have definitely been wrong before. The final, actual results will only be known when that official count is announced on November 14th.
But why does a single state election get so much national attention? Well, because the verdict in Bihar doesn't just stay in Bihar. It sends ripples all across the rest of India. Let's break down why.
There are three key reasons this is such a big deal on the national stage. First, it sets the political tone. The result is going to shape the national conversation heading into 2026. Second, it's about state policies. The winner gets to control policies on business and growth in one of India's most populous states. And third, leadership.
This election is going to make or break the careers of some of the state's biggest political names.
When it comes down to it, this election is a huge test for the two main leaders, Nitish Kumar of the NDA and Tejashwi Yadav of the Grand Alliance. The outcome will either solidify their power or, well, it could trigger a massive political shakeup in the state.
Which brings us right back to the ultimate question. After seeing the historic turnout, the key players, and all the predictions, who do you think is going to cross that magic number of 122 to form the next government in Bihar? The experienced NDA or the challenger, the Mahagathbandhan? The answer is going to define the state's path for years to come.